guys, we are going to read The Scariest Stories You've Ever Heard Part 2, Brenda's New Dress. Brenda had always wanted to be like the other girls in the senior class. She had always wanted to be invited to dances and parties, but there was something different about her, something she couldn't change. Brenda had lived with her mother since her parents' divorce, and there just wasn't very much money. She had never been able to afford the clothes and nice things that the other girls had. Brenda just didn't fit in with the popular crowd. That's why she was so excited when Jason asked her to the big spring dance. Brenda had liked Jason for a long time. He didn't seem to mind that her clothes looked like they came from the Salvation Army. Brenda's mom always made sure that her clothes were clean and mended. They just weren't the latest styles from the expensive stores at the mall. But Brenda couldn't wear her old clothes to the dance. She had to find some way to get a beautiful formal dress. Brenda pleaded with her mother to let her get a dress. "Please, Mom," Brenda said that night at dinner. "All the other kids will have fancy dresses. Can't we find the money somewhere? Jason is one of the neatest guys in the whole school." Her mother sighed. "I know how much this means to you, Brenda," she explained, "but there just isn't any extra money for things like a formal dress." Brenda tried to keep the tears from her eyes. She knew how hard things were for her mother, but she wanted to go to the dance so badly. That weekend, they went to several rental companies to look at formal dresses for the dance. Brenda couldn't believe how much they were asking just to rent the dresses. The dance was only a week away. She was going to have to tell Jason that she couldn't go with him. Then her mother said, "I know one more place we can try. There's a pawn shop on the west side. Let's give it a try. It's got to be cheaper than these prices." The pawn shop was on a small side street in an old dark building, and there in the shop, hanging next to a black suit, was a beautiful blue satin evening gown. It had a white lace collar, and it looked like it had hardly been worn at all. "Oh, Mom," cried Brenda, "I love it. It's perfect." Brenda held the blue dress up to her in front of a mirror. It seemed to be her size. "I feel like someone in a fairy tale," she exclaimed to her smiling mother. "I feel like I'm Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty." The only problem was the dress's odd smell. It didn't smell bad, just strange. It reminded Brenda of something, but she couldn't quite place it. The smell of the dress brought back a picture in Brenda's mind of her grandmother. And Brenda hadn't seen her grandmother since she died 12 years ago. "We can air it out for a few days," her mother said. "That should take care of that smell." Walking out of the pawn shop after buying the dress, Brenda loved how the deep blue of the beautiful dress shone in the sun. "Mom," she said, "I just know this dance is going to be one of the best nights in my whole life." The night of the big dance finally arrived. Brenda looked beautiful in the blue gown. She had put on a little more perfume than usual because the dress still had a faint smell. You could hardly notice it anymore, though. The perfume and airing it out took care of it. The school gymnasium was packed, and everyone there commented what a great-looking couple Jason and Brenda were. They danced almost every dance together. But as they were dancing, Brenda noticed she was feeling a little dizzy. "Jason, do you mind if we sit down for a while?" she asked. "I'm feeling kind of weak. I'm sure I'll feel better in a minute." When Jason came back with a drink of water for her, Brenda was feeling a lot worse. "I guess I danced so much that I made myself sick," she said. "I'm really sorry, Jason. I've had the best time of my life, but could you take me home early?" When Brenda got home, she was even more tired and dizzy than she had been at the dance. When she caught a glimpse of herself in the hall mirror, she noticed that her skin had turned a pale white. "It's nothing a little sleep won't cure," she thought. Brenda kissed her mother goodnight and climbed slowly upstairs to her bedroom. She couldn't wait to lay her head down on her pillow. Without even changing out of her blue dress, Brenda lay down on her bed and fell into a deep sleep. When Brenda didn't come downstairs the next morning for breakfast, her mother was a little worried. "Brenda," she called up the stairs, but there was no answer. Then her mother knocked on Brenda's door. There was still no answer. "Come on, get up, you sleepyhead," her mother said, opening the door. But she wasn't prepared for what she found inside. There was Brenda, lying very still, in her blue gown spread out around her on her bed. Her face, which had been so pale the night before, had turned greenish. With a cry, Brenda's mother reached out to shake her awake, but Brenda's skin was cold and clammy. She couldn't wake her up. It was then that Brenda's mother noticed the odor, that strange, sweet odor that they had smelled when they purchased the dress at the pawn shop. It was the odor that Brenda had tried to disguise with perfume the night before. Suddenly, she thought she knew what the smell was. It smelled almost like... "No!" screamed Brenda's mother as she ran down the stairs to call the ambulance. When the ambulance and doctor arrived, the emergency team ran up the stairs to Brenda's room. After a few minutes, the doctor came out of Brenda's room to speak to her mother. The doctor shook his head. "I'm very sorry," he said sadly. "There was nothing we could do to save your daughter. I've never seen a case like this in my 30 years as a doctor." The doctor took off his glasses. "You see," he explained, "your daughter has in her blood an extremely high concentration of a chemical that stopped her blood from flowing. We have no idea how she could have gotten such a massive dose of the chemical." Brenda's mother felt faint and leaned against the wall to keep from falling. "What is the chemical, doctor?" she asked in a whisper. The doctor paused. We're not sure, he said, but we believe it's embalming fluid.
No, wailed Brenda's mother hysterically.
She burst into the bedroom and collapsed on her daughter's lifeless body. She cried until the emergency team gently led her away. Later that day, a police car pulled up in front of the old dark pawn shop where Brenda's mother had purchased the blue gown. The doctor and a policeman were taking a statement from the manager. Yes, explained the confused manager. I remember the dress. It was in a big pile of clothing that one of my assistants took in. He no longer works here, but I think I can find the receipt from that bunch of clothes. The manager put on his glasses and began to search through a large box with many receipts and sales forms. Ah yes, he said, holding up a piece of paper. Here it is, a blue evening gown. The doctor and policeman leaned closer. Oh dear, said the manager. What is it? Asked the doctor anxiously. That blue dress was sold to my assistant by the Dodds funeral home just down the street, said the manager. They used it to dress a corpse for a funeral. Have a spooky day.